salvation, and happiness. It's your season. It's your time. God has plans for your life, to prosper you, and to give you hope and a future. Join us and learn how God's love and power can bring hope and happiness to your life. This is your opportunity for motivation, encouragement, and purpose.
Are you ready for motivation, inspiration, and a good time? Get ready for the Tish Barnhardt Show. Real issues, relatable topics, and real people. This is your time to learn how to navigate through life's ups and downs. Get motivated as we open up about personal struggles and triumphs so you can live the incredible life you're destined to live. Just remember, God has plans for your life, plans to give you hope and a future. Victory and breakthrough are just around the corner. Now let's get ready for a brand new segment of the Tish Barnhardt Show.
Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. I am Tish Barnhardt, the host of the Tish Barnhardt Show. Listen, we are super excited to have you guys back with us for another episode. And today we have the host of I Am More Than Enough, period, with us tonight. Now, I know that there are times that we go through different things in life, and sometimes those situations will just knock us down a little notch. And sometimes we don't feel like we can come up from that stuff. And sometimes we try to change things about ourselves when we are more than enough. Okay, so I want to welcome to the show today Miss Alicia Torres. How are you, my friend?
I am great, Tish. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome, my dear. So welcome. Listen, I'm telling you, whenever I spoke with you a couple of weeks ago, or met you rather a couple of weeks ago, and you had on this gear like you got on today, your hat, the I Am More Than Enough, and your t-shirt and everything. So of course I was drawn to it, and you let me know that you were the host of I Am More Than Enough. So will you tell us today what inspired you to start I Am More Than Enough, period?
Well, Tish, December 23rd of last year, I started my podcast because for years I've been wearing a mask, not letting people know the real me. And I got tired of that. In 2015, I started my spirituality, and I decided that enough is enough. This is me. This is who I am. So I started my podcast talking about different experiences I've been through and are going through.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I am so grateful that you did start this, because I know that just in some of our conversation, literally what you have to say, I believe, is going to bless the body at large. And so one of the things that you shared with me was that you actually were adopted. You were in foster care first and then were adopted by a family. So could you tell us a little bit about what that process was like for you?
At the age of 3, I was taken from my mother, myself, and my siblings. And I was in foster care for years. And then I got adopted by a family at the age of 7.
Okay. So at the age of 7, you were adopted by this family. Now, while you were with this family, how did you adjust, to this family?
It wasn't easy. Being a foster child is not easy because you're going from one home to the next home to the next home. So you don't get used to it.
Okay.
But when I got adopted by this family, it wasn't the best family to be in.
Okay. Wow, not the best family to be in. So what kind of things were happening to make you not feel very welcome? Did you not feel welcomed in the home, or what exactly?
Not at all.
Okay.
They just wanted money. It was all about
Oh.
the money. They were abusive,
Wow.
mentally, physically. I I was like a slave.
Oh my goodness, what?
So I will be the one that will cook dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and while their kids will be sitting there, I will be the one cleaning the house,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Oh wow.
cooking. Christmas will come up. I will get a pair of socks and
Mm-hmm.
underwear, where the kids will get toys and clothes.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Yeah, I know that's definitely tough, to feel like an outcast really in your own home that, you
Yeah.
were adopted into. And so I can certainly only imagine what you were going through, to kind of be quote unquote, I guess, the stepchild,
Yeah.
the one that had to do all the cleaning and cooking and, watching the other siblings, get all of the fair treatment, while you were not. So I definitely know that had to be tough. And I know that there are some people that are viewing us, today that I am sure can relate to exactly what you're saying. I was raised by a grandmother, and so I didn't feel like, I was a stepchild at all, but I
Mhm.
do. Understand, looking at other families, how things seem to be well put together, and you kind of desire that, you
Yeah.
desire that love, you desire that, that closeness, that support, and all of that. So, girl, I'm telling you, I did not have any idea that you felt like a slave, in your home. Wow and wow. So, how many other siblings were in the home with you guys?
They had three. They had
Okay.
three children.
Okay.
Plus, the father had his son
Okay.
from previous
Wow.
relationship. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Mhm.
Wow and wow. Now, I understand also that as you begin to age,
Mhm.
you got into a couple of things that landed you in a situation. And so,
Mhm.
what I want you to do is tell us about this situation when we
Mhm.
come back for our commercial break. Back in a moment.
Look at that. So sad.
There's nothing better than being inspired and renewed daily by the power of God. In Morning Tea with the King, author Tish Barnhardt shares inspiration through a 90-day devotional that will rejuvenate your mind with scripture and your body with daily suggested herbal teas. You'll begin to see that every experience brings about a different perspective on how to view the things that are happening in our lives as we continue on our journey. Available at Amazon, your local bookstore, or at trilogy.tv.
Looking for fun, laughter, and the best show on television that supports historically black colleges and universities? Well, look no further. The HBCU Alumni House Party has got you covered. Hosted by none other than Anthony Brown. The HBCU Alumni House Party uplifts, talks about, and reports all things HBCU. Great guests, great subject matter, and lots of fun. You can find the HBCU Alumni House Party on the Daily Gospel Network at 6:30 p.m. on Sundays, the Daily Gospel Network International Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and the Daily Gospel Network Plus at 4:30 p.m. on Thursdays, all on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.
Part-time job, full-time hustle, all-time shero to all of us. You nurture, we listen. You teach, we thrive. You lift our spirits, but we've got to lay down the truth. It's time for you, our shero, to stretch for the stars. A free online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to start boosting your retirement savings today. Start saving more for retirement so you can feel prepared and live your life to the fullest. Visit aceyourretirement.org.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Listen, we are here with Alicia Torres today, the host of I Am More Than Enough Period. Okay. So before the commercial break, we heard how she was adopted into a family and how she was mentally, physically abused and how she felt kind of like a slave in that home. I don't know how many of you out there that are listening can identify or relate. I'm telling you, but I really appreciate today, Alicia, your transparency. Now, so when we talked last time, you mentioned to me about a situation that you had gotten yourself into. Could you tell us about that situation that led to a detrimental thing happening?
Well, I I gotten pregnant at the age
Hmm.
of 16.
Okay.
And and I told my mother that that I'm pregnant,
Hmm.
and she didn't believe me. Once I told my mother told my father, and when he heard that I was pregnant, he tried to have sex with me.
Wow and wow. That is a total shocker. Like, really? Wow. So, what kind of thoughts were going through your mind at that point?
I was scared.
Hmm.
I was confused. I was scared. I went to tell my mother that he tried to have sex with me, and she didn't believe me. She kicked
Wow.
me out.
Wow, 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 wow. You know, I am finding that, over the years, that I've had an opportunity to counsel women and share with women, they have these same stories, many of them, where they were molested by a family member when they were younger and trying to tell the parent or grandparent or whoever the relative may be that oftentimes they were not believed. And
Yeah.
so, could you tell me what that felt like for you to tell your mom that her husband had tried to have sex with you, but she wouldn't believe you? What did that feel like?
Well, she looked at me and said like I was lying.
Mm-hmm.
She told me to leave that same day.
Wow.
Now, mind you, I am 7 months pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So by me telling her that I'm pregnant, which I was so scared, now
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling her that her husband was doing this to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like a slap in my face
Right. Right.
that she didn't believe me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Now I'm getting kicked out, nowhere to go. I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to a pregnant teen, um, uh, like a
Shelter?
shelter. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I had to go to a pregnant teen shelter, and that's where I had my baby.
Wow and wow. At 16, I
At
know that that had to be very tough, of course, to
17.
know
Mm-hmm.
that, your adopted mother didn't really believe you. But after all, if you were being treated like, a stepchild and, really not welcomed in the family, then, I can kind of maybe see, why she probably wouldn't believe you or wouldn't want
Right,
to believe that her husband, rather, was
right.
capable of doing this to you,
Mm-hmm.
and so rather than take a look at it, you get kicked out the door and you find yourself at a teenage pregnancy facility, for young ladies. And so
Mm-hmm.
there is where you had your child. Now, I understand that you have two children today and
Yes.
you raised both of these children on your very own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't have much support. So, can you share with us how that was for you to be able to raise two children alone, basically?
Right. I have three children, but
Okay.
two I raised by myself because their father wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was hard. Here I am with two kids, trying to raise them and love them when I didn't know what love was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I stood beside my kids and did what I had to do.
Wow. Well, I really tilt my hat off to you because at a very young age and, having children and, from foster care, then you get adopted, by a family that really, didn't love you or show you the love and support that you really, deserve to be able to have and just to kind of be about the money. And I've heard so many stories about that too, where, people have been for the money. And this isn't what, we're here to knock today, but just the mere fact that you had to go through that, knowing that, hey, they're getting a paycheck to take care of you, but they don't even really love you, like that. And so that has to be very painful. And I know it was for you to be able to go through, but you've raised these children yourself and not having the support, system that many people do have because they have their parents, that are grandparents, to the children. And so they're able to help, rear them with you and give advice or even watch them, for you. And you didn't have any of that, or even the fathers around. And so you had to do what you had to do as a mom. And so I know that there are some parents, that are young and that just can't handle it. And so I really, really salute you today, Alicia, for what you have been through and to be able to come out, with flying colors. You are so beautiful. And I'm so proud of you for starting your podcast. I am more than enough, period, because you are more than enough, period, despite the pitfalls that you fell into. God is certainly using you to be able to bring many other women that are like yourself and girls out there, young girls out there that can hear your testimony and hear you share from a place of transparency that can provide the healing that they personally need. Because sometimes we can feel like we are alone, like I'm by myself, nobody else is going through this. Oh my gosh, like, who do I talk to? But you were able to receive that help from the shelter. And so I'm so grateful to hear that today. So we're going to go ahead and take another commercial break, and we will be back in a moment.
Okay.
For those of us raised in the church, the life of a first lady looks glamorous. She is always out front with her husband, and people admire her in every way imaginable. The notoriety, fame, and fortune of these men can be intoxicating to those who do not have it, and some will do anything to achieve it. Little do they know that the real life of a first lady is far from perfect. Pre-order your copy today at www.tishbarnhardt.com.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in yourself, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. We are here once again with Alicia Torres, the host of I Am More Than Enough, period. And I'm telling you, I really appreciate you today for sharing from a place of transparency. I really do. And so before the commercial break, we were talking about how you had found yourself pregnant at a very young age and by a person, and your father, adopted father, really at that time, trying to sleep with you, and of course your mother didn't believe you and things like that. And I know that that had to be very traumatic for you. And so what I wanted to ask you is that you mentioned being in the foster care homes at the age of 3. So did you know your parents at all?
I met my mother twice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they used to take us to the agency, and she used to sit on the couch and watch us play.
Okay.
But I never knew my father. I never
Okay.
knew his name or anything. But my mother, I seen in my life twice.
Okay. And so
Hmm.
I understand that you actually had an opportunity to meet your father. And at what age did you meet your father? And tell us about that experience.
Okay, so at the age of 48, I went on Ancestry.com
Mm-hmm.
looking for my mother. I
Okay.
wasn't looking for my father because I didn't know his name. I knew my
Right.
mother's name.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't find anyone from her family, but I found my father's sister.
Okay.
And it said that we have a close match. So I
Mm-hmm.
messaged her, and she called him while I was messaging her, and he said, "Yes, that's my daughter."
Wow.
And then we connected from there.
Mm-hmm.
We FaceTimed each other. We haven't
Mm-hmm.
met face to face,
Okay.
but he texts me, FaceTime. Yes,
Wow, that's beautiful at 48,
at 48.
at
Yes.
48. So how did that make you feel to finally be able to meet your father, though you haven't met him personally in person, but just to know that, okay, I've had an opportunity to actually talk to my father. I have a father out there and I now know him after 48 years.
Well, at first, maybe the 2 weeks to 3 weeks, I was on a natural high. I was calling
Uh-huh.
him every day. I was FaceTiming
Hmm.
him every day. But then I got angry
Okay.
because where were you?
Right.
Why weren't you there?
Hmm.
My mother had mental illness.
Hmm.
She had a nervous breakdown. What? So I had so many questions like, you could have took me and raised me. Why weren't you
Hmm.
there?
Right.
Then he has other kids, and one of his daughters, we have the same birthday.
Oh, wow. 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 Listening to you, share about meeting your dad at 48, I can share just a tidbit, myself, and I can understand, because my dad actually was strung out on drugs and alcohol and things. And so, in fact, he actually left kind of out of my life when I was 8. And
Mhm.
so I never really had an opportunity to have a father, so I understand, pretty much where you are, with that and what those feelings are like,
Mhm.
And in fact, I really didn't develop a relationship with him until it probably was maybe 7 years ago that my dad actually came to live with me. Now, I saw him from time to time, at family functions and things, but it was not the same. Like it was when I was a little girl because he was always there. But then you have this big gap, in between to where you
Mhm.
don't really know each other, And so whenever he came to live with me, it was like, oh my gosh, I was like a little girl, like, oh, I have my daddy back, and so forth. But at the same time, like you said, you have those thoughts like, well, what happened? Why didn't you try to, come around more? Because like you were just like not that far away. Why didn't you try to come around, But at the same time, one of the things that God shared with me, and it doesn't mean that this is the same situation for everyone, but oftentimes whenever a person has been out of a person's life for that long, sometimes they don't know what to do. They're already embarrassed. They already feel guilty. They already are shameful because they were not there as the dad, And so it's like, how do I reach out to her now? Will she accept me now? Will she love me now? Will she forgive me? Will she forgive me for walking out? Will she forgive me for not being there? And so that's one of the things that, God shared with me, that it was hard to be able to step into that place. And, our side, we're like, you need to do what you got to do, listen, because we want what we want. But we do also have to understand sometimes that they can be in such a shameful place that they just can't bring themselves to it. And so then there are, those of us like you and I that seek out, you seek out. And when he asks to come, I'm like, yeah, I welcomed him. And we have a great relationship now. And I just believe that God is going to do the same for you and your father, Alicia. You are at 48, getting to meet your dad. And I am just praying that you guys will be able to connect and actually officially meet each other beyond the FaceTime. Oh my goodness. So I'm so happy to hear that, for you. And I want you to tell us, today about your merch. Where can everybody find this beautiful gear that you have, your hat, the t-shirt, I Am More Than Enough, and most importantly, where can they listen to your podcast?
Okay, well, here's I Am More Than Enough, period. I have the hat, I have the t-shirt. My website is being revamped, but you can go on I Am More Than Enough, period, at Gmail. You can and order. It goes from small to 6X. You can DM me on I Am More Than Enough, period, underscore after each word on IG. And of course, you can listen to my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon. It's I Am More Than Enough, period.
Okay, you guys, there you have it. Listen, I want you guys to tune in with Alicia, the host of I Am More Than Enough, period. Listen, there are so many different topics and things that, she is talking about out there. And you guys heard her today, from a place of transparency, really just opening up, about her past and the things that she's gone through to be able to help our audience today. And that is what this is about. And so, Alicia, thank you so much again for tuning in with us today and sharing with us. I'm so grateful that you stopped by the Tish Barnhardt Show. We're so grateful to have had you on today. Absolutely, absolutely. And so you guys, listen, I want you guys to tune back in with us again on next week. And I also want you guys to follow the Tish Barnhardt Show page on Facebook as well as YouTube. We are growing those platforms too. So I want you guys to tune in, like, subscribe, and we will see you guys again on next week for another episode of the Tish Barnhardt Show. Bless you, buddy.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tish Barnhardt Show. We pray that you were motivated, inspired, and blessed. Tune in next week for another great segment as we bring you thought-provoking topics, great guests, and tons of encouragement. Until next time, remember, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.